Oh hi! I didn't see you there. You just caught me about to dive into the most influential, objectively best written cartoon that helped shape our very nation. Canada.
Behind every Whipcrack was an idea, a chance at innovation.
We all know the yellow-haired face of cartoon television. A cartoon that was never afraid to parody things before other shows got the chance to. The show that put you on to mint chip ice cream. Johnny Test.
What? What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, Iceberg. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce a few very special people who helped craft this thing with me.
It's me, guys, Looney the You know, the Johnny Test and Phineas and Ferb person. The one who makes the mutant characters and stuff. You know, me. I'm pretty sure this show needs no introduction. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people really love it, and others really hate it. The point is, it's a popular show, and I'm one of the people who love it. I've been a fan of the series since I was around 5 years old. Every time I watch TV, this and Phineas and Ferb were my main go-tos, alongside with some other shows like Sidekick, Adventure Time, Kick Buttowski, Ed and Eddie, and SpongeBob. I'm still a fan of this show to this day, and another thing I'm a fan of are icebergs. So I wondered if there was an iceberg video for Johnny Test, and there is. But it's in Spanish. So I decided we should make our own. Now, there are a few other Johnny Test Icebergs out there, 2 of which will also be featured in this video. To make this the definitive experience, I've decided to make my own while combining bits and pieces from the other ones while adding our own stuff in too. But if only there was another Johnny Test YouTuber to help us out.
Perhaps I could help you with that.
Famous Johnny Test fan Prisma Galaxy 514.
The Cosmic Queen has arrived, and a big project like that requires some teamwork. Am I right?
Wow, that's great. And oddly convenient.
Hello, Johnny Test fandom. I have just arrived in my turbocharged backpack, armed to the teeth with shrink rays and laser beams. Some of you may know me as Dandelion Sunflower.
Kids Warner Bros. /CW for Kids. Kids Warner Bros. Is a discontinued American's Children program, M-brand of the Warner Bros., which had a pretty solid run, airing from September 9th, 1995 to September 16th, 2006. The block moved to the CW as a result of the merger between Time Warner's The Warner Bros. And CBS Corporation's UPN, with a shorter 2-year airing spanning from September 23rd, 2006 to May 17th, 2008, after which the block was discontinued. Its Saturday morning programming slot being sold to 4Kids Entertainment and replaced by its successor block, the CW 4Kids, which would later be known as Toonzai. Johnny Test aired on the block for its first 3 seasons from 2005 to 2008.
Cartoon Network. Starting in early 2008, reruns of Johnny Test and other Kids WB shows like Skunk Fu and Shaolin Showdown started airing due to the aforementioned rebrand of Kids WB and the removal of said shows from the channel. Unlike all the other Kids WB shows, however, Johnny Test was revived for 3 more seasons that aired on the channel from 2009 to 2014, where it was pretty much treated as the network darling of sorts. The show nearly got SpongeBob levels of promotion on the channel, with marathons being quite frequent. This led to some people being sick of it and getting annoyed, and I mean really annoyed by it. Late 2014, Cartoon Network seemingly got sick of it too, and eventually screwed the show over by moving it to early weekday mornings and airing its last batch of episodes on Christmas Day.
Are you fucking—
At that point, it was replaced by a little-known show by the name of Teen Titans Go, which premiered the year before and is currently airing to this day. In fact, it's currently CN's longest running show, as it's been running for over a decade. God Damn, I remember when I had my 8th birthday in 2013, like if it was yesterday. Shit.
Dexter's Laboratory / Fairly Odd Parents. Back in the day, many people viewed Johnny Test as a blatant ripoff of Dexter's Laboratory, some even seeing it as the spawn of Fairly Odd Parents. The Dexter's Lab comparison stems from Johnny Test being seen as a role reversal, Johnny taking the place of Dexter's sister, and Johnny's sisters taking the place of Dexter, the naive test subjects and their super genius siblings. When it comes to Fairly Odd Parents, I guess it's just the blunt and flat writing style when it comes to their comedy. You could definitely draw similarities between Cosmo and Wanda and Susan and Mary, in terms of their role within the protagonist's story, both typically being the cause of the conflict as well as the solution.
Dookie used to be a normal dog. Just like the title says, Dookie used to be a normal dog before being adopted by Johnny, given the ability to talk and think like a human by Susan and Mary. This was confirmed in the first episode.
Johnny, your sisters.
His sisters? Don't talk to me about his sisters. They used their only brother as a personal test tube and turned me into a canine freak!
Scott Fellows. Scott Fellows is an iconic American television writer and producer, also the creator of Johnny Test. He's also well known for his other works and creations, such as Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide and Big Time Rush. Teletoon. Teletoon was the prime network for watching cartoons in Canada, the home of Total Drama Island. I always saw this as the main source for cartoons as a whole. You even had Teletoon at night for the less family-friendly stuff.
Please stand by. You must be at least this tall to watch Teletoon tonight.
YTV was the secondary one for me. This is where you'd get SpongeBob or any of the other branches of cartoons you're looking for, while Teletoon was the primary. I consider Johnny Test their main property, the face of cartoons as a whole, if you will. But then I'd soon find out that I was living in a very small maple syrup flavored bubble, and that everyone else had Cartoon Network. Johnny Test wasn't even a thought when thinking of the best or most popular cartoons for the average person. Teletoon has continued to air Johnny Test since 2006. And unfortunately, by the way, I did not know this next fact until literally just now, like while scripting the Iceberg. On February 21st, 2023, Teletoon was rebranded as Cartoon Network. What? How? There's no Teletoon. Damn, wow, it made it to 2023, but Cartoon Network finally decided to take priority. Canada, man, stand your ground. First we lost EB Games to GameStop. Now our cartoon program is just everyone else's? Man, we really had Johnny Test shaped onto our country's flag for nothing.
Wild Brain. These guys are the current owners and producers of the show. Other stuff by them include Inspector Gadget, the recent Peanuts cartoons, and Caillou. They even have their own TV channels. Family Channel, Wild Brain TV, formerly known as Family Charge, and Family Junior. Johnny Test even airs on the first two channels, being the show's current home in Canada. Too much female growth hormone.
Too much female growth hormone.
What have you done?
This refers to a line said in the first episode after Johnny turns into a woman and then a monster after testing microphysic. Yeah, that. The woman transformation is pretty popular among fans for obvious reasons. Hang on, how old is this kid again?
FBI, open up!
Why is this scene so fluid, by the way? For a show that basically runs as a cheap Flash animation. Okay, this random YouTube comment kind of answers my question. Maybe one of the entries coming up could dive more into that. Animation switches. There we go. Johnny Test used both hand-drawn and Flash animation. The first season was done solely hand-drawn before moving to Flash animation for the second season, due to budget costs. This remained up until season 4, where it changed again. The characters relied mostly on rigged animation, which would remain the case until the show's cancellation. The new reboot show. Johnny Test was rebooted in the summer of 2021. It's got a brand new, vibrant art style with more focus on bright colors and less stiff animation. I actually went out of my way to check this out for myself, as I had not looked at the reboot in enough detail beforehand. Personally, it doesn't quite hit the same as the original. I liked the comedy and ideas of the original series a lot more, although I can definitely appreciate the art style likely being more appealing to a modern audience. Johnny Test's old visuals definitely don't look as good nowadays, although I still prefer the original show overall, despite the heavy criticism it gets. The first 2 seasons of the show actually received lots of positive reception, a lot more than the original series was met with. The reboot is considered by critics to be a huge improvement over the final 3 seasons of the original, and possibly the entire show, although I heavily disagree.
Only acquired show to be featured in promos. Yeah, despite not being produced by Cartoon Network Studios themselves, Johnny Test was regularly featured in a few crossover promos for Cartoon Network, something that only usually in-house produced shows get featured in. Not even Total Drama, another acquired cartoon from the same channel no less, was featured in these. The only other show to get this kind of treatment around the time was Scooby-Doo. Interestingly, in Spain, a show called Crayon Shin-Chan also got this treatment from Cartoon Network in the 2000s. Strange. The most likely reason for both of these is probably because of how popular and well treated by the network they were.
Season 7. This is referring to the first season of the reboot series. While technically Season 1, many people consider this a continuation of the main show, and have coined it as Season 7, with the following seasons counting onward as if the franchise never split.
Whipcracks. Ah yes, the thing the show is most notorious for. Quite infamous actually. Around seasons 4 to 6, every time a character moved a body part, this sound plays all the time.
Oh, I love gum. Gum. Stop chewing gum! Nothing good comes from chewing gum.
Even the crew were aware of it. More on that later. In the Netflix series episode Silence of the Johnny, the show makes fun of how the Whipcrack sound can get pretty annoying, and the villain of the episode removed the sound effect from Johnny.
Because I'm taking your voice.
Whoa, didn't see that.
We've all had enough of those sounds, too. Pure silence.
Mr. Black and Mr. White. One of the funniest gags of the series, our 2 favorite secret agents, both working for the General, Mr. Black and Mr. White. Mr. White being a black guy, and Mr. Black being a white guy. I love that their names are solely based on the opposite race. Scott Fellows really thought he cooked with that. And he did! That's the kind of subtle humor that made our childhood cartoons stand out amongst the rest. Your childhood cartoons? I only grew up with the Flintstones! You're 19. Shut the fuck up, you fucking shithead, fucking dick shit, fucking shit for brains, fucking shit, fucking asshole, shitty fuck dip shit, fuck shit, bitch, Anyway, some quick lore about Mr. Black and Mr. White. They are actually mutants. I'm talking about some next level X-Men type shit. This was revealed in the episode Johnny X, where the 2 of them were able to shoot ropes out of their fucking hands. It's never explained how or why they can do this, but they can do it. Yeah, fuck it. Basically Spider-Man, but take away his webs and give him nooses. Noose Man. Rope Man. Lasso fucking...
She ain't black or white, you can call me Mr. Your bitch wanna picture.
Hugh and Meatloaf. Johnny's dad, Hugh, really, and I mean really loves meatloaf. Nearly every dinner he cooks the dang thing or some variation of it. It's so crazy to the point where he'll sometimes even put the safety of meatloaf in front of his own family. Wow, man. It's never revealed why Hugh loves meatloaf so much. Probably just ate it at a young age and it just became his favorite meal, and honestly, who can blame him? Meatloaf is pretty fucking delicious.
Although if Hugh makes it, make sure you have a really sturdy bag nearby. And also a doctor, like, might as well call an entire ambulance while we're at it.
Meatloaf bars? Are you fucking serious right now? I get it. You're a stay-at-home dad with crippling insecurity, but fuck me. Fun fact, there are 2 characters in the show who actually happen to like the meatloaf. That being Mr. Black and Phobius McPhobe. Of course the white guy likes this shit.
Netflix. 9 years later, after the show ended, Netflix decided to revive the show for 2 new seasons that ran from 2021 to 2022. There was also an interactive special in the middle of them called Johnny Test's Ultimate Meatloaf Quest. It was confirmed by staff members that the show ended in 2023, most likely due to Netflix's layoffs around that time.
Don't mention that name.
As it stands, you can currently find every episode of the original series and the remake all in one place without illegally streaming it. That's 2 full shows plus a video game, so if anyone's considering checking this out,
you best have fucking money, cause you got it.
Bling Bling Boy.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Bling bling boy!
We've got Eugene Hamilton, the chubby, obsessive, creepy at times, ultimate supervillain. He's 12? Bling Bling Boy is Johnny's main rival throughout the series. His main motivation being he wants to marry Johnny's sister, Susan Test, which, really? Back when I was growing up, I always thought Mary Test was the better option, but you go, King. Bling. If there's one thing this fat sack of shit has going for him, it's drip. Hence the name. My friend's Bling Bling Boy has bling. Look at him!
Stylish.
His plans to take down Johnny are constantly being foiled. Something is always getting in the way. He's basically this show's version of Neville from iCarly.
Bye, Neville.
And they even have a gag where his mother yells at him off screen, similar to Howard in Big Bang Theory. I just read something from the fandom wiki that's actually quite sad. Although he won't admit it, he craves human interaction and builds robots to cope with this. Damn. Unrelated, but did you know he became a rapper?
I bling bling, I bling bling. You can tell it cause it says it on my ring. Got mo style, ain't no past. Gonna keep rapping hard till I get Susan Test.
Survived cancellation twice. This is truly a remarkable feat on Johnny Test's record. To survive cancellation not only once is crazy, but twice? Then it actually got cancelled. But twice? The media did not like this Canadian classic. But alas, it survived 2 cancellations, got cancelled, and then got revived in the big 2021. You cannot kill the Dookie, my friend. This show would not stay dead. My favorite childhood cartoon, and here I am covering it through an Iceberg video in the big
2026.
Then they actually killed it again. But twice? I don't know about you, but I think this is a great place to wrap the first layer. So throw away your meatloaf dinners, pick up some mint chip ice cream, and let's strap in for layer 2.
Hey, you sit on a hard plastic seat for 8 hours a day talking about pig farms and the wonders of methane.
The methane!
Methane! What's methane?
The goddamn methane! That is all you talk about!
Fusion Fall. Cartoon Network Fusion Fall was a massively popular online game, developed by Cartoon Network and South Korean studio Green Yon Entertainment. It was similar in style to games like World of Warcraft or Toontown. The roster obviously consisting of several popular Cartoon Network characters, including Johnny Test himself, who was added to the game alongside good old Dookie Bear in 2011. The game decided it was time to get on its Club Penguin shit and was unfortunately shut down in 2013. There was, however, a fan-made revival game called Fusion Fall Legacy in regular development, which meant it would have continued with new content being added, but it was shut the fuck down after they were sent to DMCA from Cartoon Network. Some of the new characters planned to be added were Mr. Black and Mr. White, and Susan and Mary Test. But since it was nuked, these characters never got to see the light of day in Fusion Fall. Kinda sad, really. This actually looked pretty cool.
Prisma Galaxy 514. or just Prisma for short, is a Turkish-German artist, writer, and one of the well-known Johnny Test fans. She's made quite a lot of Johnny fan art and fan things. They're pretty well made, especially the ones where she recreated the art style of the Netflix revival. She's also a fan of Sonic, My Little Pony, Winx Club, Kamen Rider, and some other things, and makes crossover with the first 4 pieces of media, and they're pretty cool. I really like how well done her art is. She even made this art out of all the Johnny Test characters in their Winx Club's forms, which you should definitely go check her content out. It's very cool and interesting.
My recent project is an ongoing crossover alternate universe story between Johnny Test and Winx Club titled When Worlds Collide. It currently has 8 episodes, so check it out on Wattpad. But of course, at the end of the day, everyone in the fandom, including my friends, deserves some recognition too.
Thanks to the Big Drax for having me on, and now let's take a look at Jab at North Korea/China. In the episode Johnny on the Spot, Johnny and his pal Dookie Doo travel to a country known as Chow Now, and yeah, this gotta be racist, but we carry on. Looking at them, it's pretty clear who they're supposed to represent. The way their military operates, their disgust towards foreigners. Yeah, Chow Now is obviously supposed to sound like China, but the joke could also be directed at North Korea as well, based on their whole regime. This isn't surprising in the least bit, by the way. Canadian shows from the early 2000s and 2010s were wild. Anyone remember Mr. Young? I sure don't. I'm not Canadian, but this was Dang, who had a brother named Ding who was married to a duck.
The season 4 to 6 character models are different from seasons 2 to 3. Most people don't really seem to notice this at a first glance, but yeah, they're different. If you compare them side by side, for example, Johnny's ear is less round, his sideburns has less lines on it, his nose is less pointy, Hugh's ear has a line between it and his main head, though this was fixed in later episodes of season 6, along with a few other examples. Sometimes in season 4, some of the characters would briefly switch back to their old season heads for some reason. My guess is it's probably just reused assets.
It was based on Scott's childhood. There was an article where Scott mentioned how he based the show on his own childhood, with Johnny representing Scott himself, Susan and Mary being based on his real-life sisters, and Dookie being his dog that he had growing up. This has since been archived. It's very common for creators to draw inspiration or take things from their personal life and adapt them into material for their show, Scott being no exception. Johnny stopping Evil Force 5 lost some members. The Beekeeper, a classic Johnny Test character, canonically left Evil Force 5 once he became friends with good old Johnny Test, resulting in him being replaced by Zizrar, the Mole King, Zizra. Wacko being the founder, the team also including Brain Freezer, Mr. Mittens, and his butler, Albert. Brain Freezer later became good, and Wacko is estranged from the group, so it's unknown if they're still around or if the group disbanded.
Malaysia. This refers to the classic line.
Okay, we want answers. Why did you resist a police officer?
Why are you police officers?
I blew up Malaysia.
It became pretty quoted in the fanbase for obvious reasons. For context, in Runaway Johnny, the reason why Mr. Black and Mr. White became police officers is due to the former accidentally blowing up a small Malaysian island just because the button isn't labeled.
How was I supposed to know what the red button was for?
Bling Bling Boy chain. Ever notice something different about Bling Bling in promotional artwork and him in the actual show? Well, you'd be right, because in promo artwork, his bling is green instead of diamond. Why is this? Well, this is because in the first 6 seasons, the bling was actually green screened in, and for the promo art, they just simply forgot to put the bling in. Great graphic design, mate. Also, there's an actual real Bling Bling Boy chain, or ring, that was actually tweeted out by Lee Takar, Bling Bling's VA, showcasing it. And it honestly looks really cool, and I really wish I had this. The Extreme Teen Team. These guys were the main villains of the Season 1 episode, Johnny Test Extreme Crime Stopper. They basically robbed a bunch of extreme snacks and drinks and an entire band just so they can have an extreme party. After that episode, they pretty much were just relegated to background characters and can be seen in a few episodes as extras like Johnny's Ultimate Treehouse. At least they didn't disappear completely unlike some other characters. More on that later.
Tinymon. This was Johnny Test's parody of Pokemon, Tiny Mom being an in-universe video game, and the equivalent to Our World's Pokemon. Instead of Ash Ketchum, we've got Blast Ketchup. God, sue these cunts. Blast Ketchup is a recurring villain, first debuting in Johnny-Mon, and returning in none other than Return of Johnny-Mon. They then didn't appear again until the show's 7th season with the reboot series, where Blast reprises his role as the episode's villain. He and Johnny eventually squashed their beef in his latest appearance, and the two are now on good terms. What a G. He's actually pretty cool. Hell, I think he's better than the actual Ash Ketchum. I don't give a fuck. I will take that to my grave, you semi-Mongolian fuck!
To the lab! This is a quote said by various characters, mostly Johnny though, almost every time they get an idea involving the laboratory. It has become one of the most recognizable running gags from the show.
Season 1 was produced in America. Yeah, the first season was actually produced in the States, unlike the rest of the series, which was mostly done in Canada. Although the first season was still recorded in Canada, and Americans were also writing the later seasons, so yeah, both were doing their part. Kind of a hybrid, like Ryan Reynolds. Smash Badger. Man, Johnny Test's low-key a goat when it comes to these parodies. Sure, Family Guy has them beat, but considering this is some bumfuck Canadian show with nowhere near the amount of season or reach as Family Guy, you gotta give them this. Smash Badger. The Johnny Test equivalent of Crash Bandicoot. Fuck me, this guy looks like a three-way cross between Tico from Dora, Ratchet from Ratchet and Clank, and the fucking bubble-popping arcade squirrel from Chuck E. Cheese. Anyway, this Happy Tree Friends looking motherfucker actually had a real playable game on Teletoon's official website. For some reason, I vaguely remember playing this. Look at this almost naked animal. I tried a bunch of Flash games of almost every cartoon I watched growing up. And yeah, this does look like a combo of every generic Flash game put together, so I could very well be confusing this for a million different things. But I don't care. I'm pretending that I was there for this. I was one of you. Ride or die, Canadian guy, suck me off. Also, fuck you, Cartoon Network, for never putting this on your website. Teletoon stays on top.
Flash games. This mostly refers to the many online Flash games the show has, such as Johnny's Deep Sea Snapshots, Attack of the Johnnies, Cavern Flash, Gravity Pants, Tests of Times, Attack of the Killer Snowman, the aforementioned Smash Badger game, and many more. Unfortunately, since Flash Player shut down, you can't really play them on any of the original websites, but thanks to Flashpoint, most of them have been reserved, with the exception of one being The Snowmen Strike Back, which is lost, with only a few screenshots available. Super Noobs. Super Noobs is a cartoon created by the same team behind Johnny Test, Scott included. It can kinda be seen as a spiritual successor to Johnny Test of sorts. It's about a group of kids who are mistaken to be military soldiers by two aliens, and are tasked to save the world and stop some kind of virus that turns people into horrible monsters. It's pretty similar to Johnny Test in various ways. For one, it has the same animation style utilized in seasons 4 to 6 of Johnny Test. The comedy's pretty similar too, and even many of the same cast members are in this show as well.
American Idiot ripoff. American Idiot is a popular Green Day song, and many have pointed out that the Johnny Test theme sounds quite similar. Here's an example. However, I don't think it's quite fair to say it's a ripoff, as the writer is genuinely just a big Green Day fan, and wanted to show support. Others have said that Green Day actually gave them permission to use this song, and have been honored in several ways throughout the airing of the series. Even Dookie's Name being the title of one of their albums. It seems like the creators have definitely tried their best at paying homage to them in little ways. Let me know what you guys think. Bastille Day ripoff. Bastille Day was a song released by the band Rush in 1975. The intro obviously sounding very similar to the Johnny Test theme song opening. Here's an example for good measure. It definitely follows a very similar rhythm throughout, but the tone and lyrics are very different despite the instrumental. Someone named Mr. N even made a version of the Johnny Test theme with Bastille Day mixed into it. So I'll link that down below if you want to check it out. It's pretty cool.
Johnny Test Lost web series. Johnny Test the Lost web series is a line of animated shorts based on the series. 15 5-minute episodes are known to exist. It was produced by Wildbrain Spark in the United Kingdom and has a brand new cast. After a bunch of promotional stunts, the first episode, League of Johnnies, was released on May 2nd. However, the video was made private a few days later on May 5th, 2020, with the rest of the uploads and media associated with the web series removed shortly after, with no reason given. It's been 3 years and still no word has been given on it. Some people theorized it was because of the negative reaction people had to it, but many have pointed out that if that was the case, the show would have never been revived in the first place. Only 2 full episodes are available online. The aforementioned first episode and another episode called Johnny vs. Boogerman. Other than a few clips, the series still remains lost, and once again, no reason was given for the sudden removal. However, there is a theory I've came up with. I'll get more into that later. Also, one more thing, and what's probably the most interesting thing about this whole entire thing, is that before Smash Bits, the animators, made this, they made mostly adult-oriented video game parodies of games like Undertale. Yes, these are the same guys that made If Undertale Was Realistic.
Dookie voice actor swap. Dookie was portrayed by Darren Norris exclusively in the pilot. He was then officially portrayed by Louis Carrillo from Season 1 up to the end of Season 4. Dookie was then recast and voiced by Trevor Duvall from Season 5 onward, including the reboot series. For some reason, Dookie had a different voice actor altogether in the web series, being Tom Wayland. I guess maybe they couldn't get the actual voice in time or something, but yeah, that's odd.
That is odd that Moon is out.
SnoopTube. The almighty classic Johnny Test YouTube parody. Johnny cooks up a channel for himself on the platform SnoopTube, gee, I wonder what that could be, and performs various stunts attempting to get as many views as possible and go viral. Much as any stunt-driven YouTuber would strive for, he struggles a lot to get anywhere throughout the episode, but this big ol' naked behemoth stunt ends up sealing the deal for him, and we get this funny line.
Wow! Naked Johnny did it!
DS game. The Johnny Test DS game. Truly amazing how this IP landed its very own video game on Nintendo's handheld icon. The DS game was a 2011 basic platformer. You already know I got my hands all over this thing. And then I lost it. This was my favorite TV show as a kid, so you know I was playing this. And then I lost it. Was it great? Probably not, but it's Johnny Test, so there's always some charm. The plot was essentially Johnny's sisters decided to create a simulation machine, which gets hacked by the notorious Johnny Test villain, Wacko, who will have a few more entries of his own coming up. Wacko is assisted in his evil plan by Bling Bling Boy and Brain Freezer. Quite the big three when it comes to supervillains, am I right? Haha. This game was a DS exclusive, and wasn't released on any other platform. No console ports or anything. Maybe they were planned at some point, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were quickly cancelled. Anyway, feel free to try and emulate this and download it off Vim's Lair or something. Knock yourself out.
Dog and Bone. Dog and Bone is an in-universe show that's an obvious parody of the show itself. It's about this totally hippity-hop kiddo named Dog and his radical dog named Bone. Fuck, I'm so white. Going on adventures with his super genius twin brothers with very cartoony squash and stretch antics going on.
Whoa, didn't see that coming. Another baller recurring quotable, usually being triggered whenever something unexpected transpires. This one's very iconic amongst not only the fans, but the haters as well. It's either used to reminisce fondly, or to absolutely shit on this god-awful hellspawn of a television show. Their words, not mine. I love you, Dookie. Mario Kart 7 reference. This refers to the many racing episodes in Johnny Test, my personal favorite being the classic Johnny Kart Racing. And yeah, obviously this is parodying Mario Kart. I'm not sure what specifically relates to Mario Kart 7 in particular. I would have just considered this an in general reference to Mario Kart. I guess the whole hang glider thing counts? Yeah, the episode was specifically referencing Mario Kart 7 as a whole.
Imports dragon figures. Imports Dragon is a toy-making company who was in charge of making the official Johnny Test toy line around 2014, with the first wave of figure having a bunch of different variations of Johnny, as well as Dookie, Bling Bling, and a few skateboards and scooters. There was also a shock figure that you could use to prank your friends with. There was a second wave planned, but due to the show's cancellation, it's never materialized. It's a shame too. It would have been cool to see a figure of all the show's cast. Oh well.
Dookie's steak bacon swap. Early on during the show, Dookie's entire bit was that he loved steak, and it would be an ongoing gag for a while. Although, at some point, this was randomly replaced with an obsession for bacon. I remember noticing this switch when I was a kid during the airing of the little Teletoon adverts that would play during commercials. They randomly started highlighting this bacon gag instead, and the whole steak thing seemed to just die off. I always wondered what the reason behind this was. Maybe something to do with Dookie's voice actor being changed? Smarty Pants' secret appearance. Here we have a popular theory within the Johnny Test fandom. The theory being that Smarty Pants secretly took over Johnny again in the episode King Johnny. One of my personal favorite episodes, by the way. Seriously, this real-life chess battle type thing was so satisfying as a kid. Anyway, thus being a secret appearance. The Smarty Pants can replicate accurate human-like emotions such as love, hate, jealousy, and has the power to make the person who uses it vastly more intelligent. They take control of the wearer's mind, sometimes even turning their eye color to red, as well as their forehead expanding. During Johnny's power trip as king, once he quickly pieces up his bullies with his newfound army, this happens.
And now, my chess army, let's take over Europe!
As you can see, the red eyes returned, similarly to the Smarty Pants episode. There's also a few shots where Johnny's forehead seems to be weirdly shaped as well. Honestly, this theory makes a lot of sense. Definitely a lot more than the idea that he just kind of went crazy immediately after being given power, as if it's some supernatural disease, but hey, this is Johnny Test, I don't think logic has to apply here. I do really like this theory. It makes you wonder how the Pants managed to sneak their way onto Johnny, but they are super smarty after all, so anything is possible.
2013 lawsuit. There was a lawsuit in 2013 that was put against Scott by a guy named David Straighton, who claimed the two worked on the show back in the 90s, and after failing to get it picked up, a decade later, Scott got the show on TV anyways without crediting him. It's unknown if this lawsuit went anywhere, but I guess Scott won, considering that Johnny Test was revived in 2020. However, it is theorized that this is what led to the show's cancellation, as it did only happen a year before the show ended initially, so maybe? But again, this is unconfirmed.
Rating changes. I believe this is referring to the decline in ratings throughout the original show's airing. From season 1 to season 6 was a steady decline, with the final season of the OG being the lowest in viewership, just earning above 1 million live viewers. Potentially could have been a factor in the show getting canned initially. Review scores also seem to be down pretty bad too, with the reboot series getting more positive reception in comparison. The viewership decline could also be how Christina Miller, the head of Cartoon Network at the time, aired the final 4 episodes of Johnny Test all on the same day, being Christmas. What the fuck? Like, no fucking wonder. Flag gag. There's a running joke in the show where a random Canadian province or US state flag is shown in front of the school before every classroom scene, because Pork Belly, the show's town, is just supposed to represent generic North America that could take place pretty much anywhere. Johnny's original actor. We all know and love the iconic voice behind Johnny Test, his brilliant voice actor James Arnold Taylor, who's portrayed the character throughout the entirety of the series. Apparently, he wasn't always the man to voice the flame-haired test tube. The first 6 episodes of Johnny Test were initially recorded with a different man behind the voice, this original actor still being audible in some of the early Kids Warner Brothers promos.
Cool. Johnny Test, an experiment. Whoa.
However, the staff team later concluded that he didn't quite fit the role and switched him out prior to the show airing, with James dubbing over all the existing lines. So, who was his original voice actor? We don't know. Like, we genuinely do not fucking know. It's completely unknown. Although some people suspected it could have been Eric Bauza, another famous voice actor known for his role as Bugs Bunny in Looney Tunes, amongst other big characters as well. This is complete speculation, by the way. The reason being that the character he voiced in Atomic Puppet sounds strikingly similar to the Johnny Test voice seen in those early promos. It's not uncommon at all for characters to be recast, even during the series, so it being prior is not all that surprising. I mean, Gumball Watterson has had 3 different voice actors throughout the show, and even Johnny Test had a few recasts, such as Dookie, which was mentioned earlier, Mary and Sissy, who share the same actress, being voiced by Brittany Wilson during season 1, then being replaced by Ashley Ball for seasons 2 and 4, then Brittany Wilson returned to the role for season 5, then they replaced her again by Ashley Ball for season 6, then both were swapped out for Emily Tennant in season 7 to 8, this time only as Mary, as Sissy has never appeared in the Netflix reboot. Last, but certainly not least, we have Mr. White, portrayed by Scott McNeil across all 6 seasons of the original show, but was swapped out for Devin Mack for the remake, as the BLM protests were at an all-time high around that time. This was also the reason behind Cleveland Browns actor stepping down, as they thought it might be seen as disrespectful to continue portraying them.
Hank Anchorman's old look. Hank Anchorman is a recurring character who, as his last name implies, is a news anchorman, similar to other cartoon anchormen like Kent Brockman from The Simpsons. Now, we all know he looks like this. However, when he first appeared in the episode Johnny's Pink Plague, he looked like this. Yeah. Eventually, once he reappeared in Johnny's Big Snow Job, he was redesigned with the look that we're all familiar with, reusing a design from a previous nameless Anchorman, except now with brown hair instead of gray. Why he was given this complete redesign is unknown, but my guess is that they wanted a more iconic looking design, as this design isn't the most memorable. I mean, this guy could easily be a background character of any show using the same thick outline geometric art style of the 2000s Johnny Test used, and it wouldn't be that out of place.
Johnny was the kids' Warner Brothers mascot. Yes, I'm right. I knew I wasn't tripping. I have been getting shat on for telling people that I saw Johnny Test as the face of cartoons growing up. No, fucker! He was literally the mascot of Teletoon. That and Total Drama Island. But fuck you! I knew he wasn't just another cartoon. Add it to the pile. No, he was the GOAT. The main character. Johnny Test is better than regular show. Anyway, Johnny Test first premiered in my birth year, 2005, alongside Lunatics Unleashed and Coconut Fred's Fruit Salad Island. Fucking hell, you know we didn't watch that. Warner thought that last title I just mentioned was gonna be their biggest hit. Yes, that fucking mouthful bootleg SpongeBob whatever the fuck. They thought they cooked with that. That was their LeBron of the big 3. They tried to make him their mascot, even creating the largest number of commercials for that. What happened, you might be asking? Well, the ratings flopped and this shit was canned, after 13 episodes. They then quickly realized that their GOAT was Johnny Test, and he took over that role as the children's mascot, due to it having way more success than the other 2, clean sweeping them in popularity.
Lost pilot episode. Long before time, prior to Johnny Test being greenlit as a television show, a pilot to the series was crafted in 2004. It was animated solely in Flash, and the only actor who remained was James Arnold Taylor, the actual voice behind Johnny Test. Yes, even before they brought in the original voice actor, the current Johnny was used in the very first unofficial iteration of this product, which is wildly cool in my opinion. It was basically the first episode of the actual series, but with a couple key differences. The characters had different models, Johnny having a skull on his shirt instead of the old toxic waste radioactive one we've all grown accustomed to, Dookie being named Poochie, and Bling Bling Boy being Golden Boy. It used Flash animation much like the remainder of the original series, apart from season 1, which was hand-drawn animation. The only footage of this unused pilot are various clips on YouTube that showcase the promo that was used, as well as some screenshots screenshots of varying resolution. To this day, it is yet to be found, which is unfortunate. I'm really surprised at how much lost media this show actually has. I mean, the fact that a Johnny Test Iceberg has this much lore? It's quite fascinating if I do say so myself. I went full British there, what the hell?
Joni West. Joni West first appeared in the episode Johnny Alternative. She's a Johnny variant from another dimension. An alternate Johnny, if you will. In this dimension, everyone's gender is swapped, so any males on Earth are females in that dimension, and vice versa. Both Johnny Test and Joni West develop a crush on each other, which is kinda weird when you think about it, but each to their own. Johnny's ideal woman is a gender-bent version of himself. Joni West eventually returns in the first episode of the Lost web series, League of Johnnies. The fanbase is quite a big fan of her character, as she's appeared in several fan arts and creations. Kids meals. Johnny Test has spawned 3 kids meals across different eateries throughout history. The first ever was from Hardee's. If you don't know what that is, it's basically Carl's Jr. They serve the same food and are under the same company. Literally the only difference is the name. The second, coming from Jollibee. Okay, this has to be British. Jollibee Wallaby, Jolly Whopper Cotton Swab of Parliament. Oh, no, it's not British at all. Jollibee's Johnny Test collab featured Johnny Test Adventure Chasers. Even came with a little bobblehead car, like, look at him. And finally, the Johnny Test McDonald's meal. Yep, these motherfuckers have done it all. McDonald's UK, to be exact. Cauliflower Shepherd's Dollar, Boris Johnson's fucking collar. With this collab, you could win a sleepover with Johnny. No, I'm playing. You could win a sleepover at the fucking museum. What? I am not shitting you. This was a real prize. Fucking goddamn, UK built different, bro. This sounds like a fucking Johnny Test episode plot. Their entire commercial was animated, which was really cool. I love the stop motion style using the custom figures of the characters. It's unknown who made these. At least, I can't quite find them. But I really hope they're discovered soon, cause these are some high quality toys. Also, fun fact, these meal toys are the only Johnny Test toys, apart from the Imports Dragon line.
Season 1 was actually in widescreen. As we all know, Johnny Test wouldn't go widescreen until its second season, but what if I told you that the very first season was also produced in the same format as well? Yep! At one point, the first season of Johnny Test was produced in a 60:9 ratio. However, because not many people owned widescreen TVs back in 2005, or Wildbrain lost the rights to that version, the first season aired in a standard 4:3 ratio. The only evidence we have of its existence is the Irish dub of the first opening, along with several clips from a promotion kit. For more information about it and many lost stuff, check out my video on Lost Johnny Test Media on my channel. The link is in the description below.
Dark Vegan destroyed other planets. In Dark Vegan's introduction, we learn that
your world will be like gone soon.
Say what?
Dark Vegan, my dad, is like coming here to take all your plants and water and stuff.
What? But the vegans are totally nice and don't hurt anything!
We don't hurt anything on our planet. So to keep it so nice, we destroy other planets.
Wait, you mean like this?
Yeah, they were really nice before my dad got there. Like your planet.
I'm gonna freak out now.
Janet. Janet Nelson Jr. was a character in Season 1 who was supposed to be Johnny's main love interest. She was depicted as the usual popular girl and the smart girl that all the guys want. By the time Season 2 rolled around, her role was given to Sissy Blakely, and she only made small appearances in Season 2 and was pretty much removed in Season 3. Now, this might be a hot take, but I'm glad they made Sissy the love interest instead. I feel like her and Johnny have better chemistry and share a lot more in common. Janet just kind of felt like a generic perfect girl. Though she's not a bad character, far from it. I just prefer Sissy. Though, I still feel like they could have kept her in, kind of like as a yin and yang with Sissy's tomboy and this girly girl, kind of like Cindy and Betty from Jimmy Neutron.
TKO. TKO, or to give it its full name, Cartoon Network Titanic Kung Fu Bot Offensive. Yeah, fuck that, we're going with TKO. This was a Flash crossover fighting game which was found on the Cartoon Network website. Basically their equivalent to Nick's Super Brawl Flash game. You get to select a robot with its theme based on a Cartoon Network character, with one of them obviously being our GOAT, Johnny Test. It's not a bad game by any means. It has some decent mechanics for a Flash game. I'd tell you it's worth a try, but it hasn't been fully archived yet. Kaleidoscope Animation. This was, at one point, considered to be one of the largest animation studios in Atlantic Canada. They were a Canadian animation studio and full-time production company based in Halifax, Nova Scotia, that was founded by Stephen J.P. Camo and Michael Andreas Kuttner back in '95. They were one of the first animation studios to fully use Adobe Flash for their animations. They are known for their contributions to Johnny Test, obviously, but also their other works such as Oliver's Adventures and Delilah and Julius. The company ended up closing its doors in 2009, with their final project being Speed Racer: The Next Generation.
The Netflix revival almost had the CalArt style. No, I'm not joking. This was actually the case at one point. As you can see, with these two pieces of concept art by Jan D. Prevel and Ken Turner, the revival was going to have a completely different art style, more representative to more modern-looking cartoons like Steven Universe, Star vs. the Forces of Evil, Hilda, or Gravity Falls. Now, these aren't bad per se, but damn, these are downgrades compared to the original. I mean, Johnny and Dookie here look like they just stepped out of Craig of the Creek or Bluey, though Dookie isn't a complete rectangle. All I can say is thank God for Steven Silver. No offense to Jan or Ken, of course, but I just don't think their art styles fit Johnny Test at all.
Dark Vegan is a human. Another popular theory suggesting that the alien Dark Vegan is actually not an alien, but rather a human. He does look human and shares several features, but so do Viltrumites at the end of the day, so that's not concrete enough evidence. He also loves toast and somehow didn't know what that was prior to trying it in his 40s? Maybe, I don't know. But Johnny introduced him to that. And if he was a human, I doubt he went his whole life without trying toast. But what do I know? He's an alien that shares human features, much like Goku or Alex Kidd.
DS and Xbox references. Johnny Test referenced both of these consoles. The DS was referenced in Johnny-Mon and Return of Johnny-Mon, where Johnny can be seen playing with a handheld game that has multiple screens. And in X-Ray Johnny, Johnny sees a woman carrying a Z-Box, which is an obvious reference to the Xbox.
Fourth wall break. There are several points throughout the show where characters break the fourth wall and acknowledge the audience in some way. Not really surprising considering almost every cartoon has done this by now. Definitely nothing out of the ordinary, but interesting nonetheless. Episode cameos. I believe this is referring to the various Easter eggs and callbacks that reference previous episodes in the series. Basically like continuity, when an item from a previous episode appears in another episode, acknowledging the events did happen. For example, seeing an item or invention that was used previously, or mentioning past events in dialogue. There's probably quite a few of these. I'm not gonna sit here and try to pinpoint every single one, but I'm sure someone's gone on their own safari hunt for this kind of thing already. Let me know in the comments below. Bling Bling Boy loves Mary instead of Susan. This refers to the ending of Johnny vs. Bling Bling 3, where after taking a course that was designed to stop his love for Susan, he actually ends up moving on from her, but then falls in love with Mary Test, so the cycle continues. Johnny, you gotta keep this man away from your family, believe me.
The Once and Future Johnny comic. Here we have an official comic release from 2011 being canon to the show. Well, Kinda. It's kinda hard to say since the show is mostly episodic with a new goal and agenda and plot in every episode, although they do reference previous episodes throughout the show sometimes, so it could be canon? I don't know. The plot is, Johnny mysteriously begins receiving good grades out of nowhere. I'm talking A+. Johnny writes this off as nothing but good luck, then he's visited by a ghost of his older sister, Mary Test of the future. She shows him that he'll become senator and how everything will become a dystopian future to what he knows. Johnny and Dookie come up with a plan to figure out where these A's are coming from. I'm not going to spoil anything here, so if you're interested in knowing how this story unfolds, I'd recommend checking out the comic for yourself online.
B Shrek Test in the House. This is a crossover featuring the B movie, Shrek, Cory in the House, the fuck? And obviously Johnny Test. This iconic meme is a mashup of all their names put together, and spawned from this image. I am truly inspired. This meme created several shitposts and fan art. It picked up so much traction that even Johnny's voice actor, James Arnold Taylor, is aware of it.
Another exciting adventure of B Shrek Test in the house.
Wow. Where would society be without the Johnny Test fandom? Bumper and Sissy's parents. Bumper was Johnny's main bully throughout his time at school, and much like Sissy, we rarely see any footage of their parents. Sissy's mom does appear briefly in the episode Johnny-itis, although her father is never shown within the series. Bumper's parents can actually be seen in the crowd during the episode Good Ol' Johnny Test. Atomic Cartoons. Atomic Cartoons is a Canadian animation studio which was founded in 1999 by Trevor Bentley, Olaf from Frozen, Maruo Cazales, and former Warner Bros. Employee Rob Davies. The studio is based in Vancouver, British Columbia. They produce animations for a wide variety of clients, as well as producing their own material. I'll be diving more into their role within Johnny Test further down below.
Cartoon Network airing edits. This refers to how Cartoon Network would air the segments separately as their own episodes and time slots instead of together. So this caused fade-ins and fade-outs to be added in between certain scenes as seen here. Egg rolls, eh? Not much to say here, but I thought it was pretty interesting, so I decided to put it here.
Nick and Disney aired it in different countries. We're all aware of Johnny Test airing on Cartoon Network, but if you happen to live in Germany, Johnny Test actually aired on Nickelodeon. Yep, and Disney. Italy had Johnny Test airing on Nick in October of 2006. Poland had it airing on Helix, and later Disney XD in 2008. Even Israel was airing this shit on Nickelodeon. They have Nickelodeon? What? They aired the first 3 seasons with subtitles, and had the 4th season dubbed over. Oh, and by the way, Spain straight up blew my mind with this one. They aired Johnny Test on both Disney Channel and Disney XD simultaneously. That's actually insane, I cannot lie. Spain was out here. Mr. Teacherman voice error. This is an interesting one. Within the episode Johnny Zombie Tea Party, the beginning scene with Mr. Teacherman features a completely different voice actor.
I have even more exciting news! You need emergency toe surgery and...
This definitely sounds off compared to his normal voice. I'm not really sure why this occurred. Maybe Luis Carrillo, who was his voice actor at the time, same as Dookie, forgot to send in one of his lines, and so they pulled some random dude off the street to fill in the missing dialogue. Unrelated, but Mr. Teacherman used to catch a lot of slack from us as kids. He was never really that bad though. This comment sums it up perfectly. By the way, have you seen what this guy looks like in the reboot? My man had a huge glow up. I don't know what plastic surgeon he hit up, but that nose job paid off big time. Cartoon parodies. I'm unsure as to whether this is referring to the various internet parodies made about Johnny Test, or cartoons that Johnny Test has parodied, or other shows that made parodies on Johnny Test. It's not that one. so it's likely referring to Johnny parodying other shows. Cause something tells me there isn't a popular mainstream cartoon that ever gave enough of a fuck to do a parody episode on Johnny Test. I can't recall any episodes that specifically parody another popular cartoon, mainly just parodying mainstream media, unless you want to claim the whole show is a parody of Dexter's Lab or something, I don't know.
Xbox sweepstakes. Back during the Kids WB days, they held a Johnny Test themed contest. The contest was that Brain Freezer freezed various characters from various shows and is using them as lawn decoration, and it's up to Johnny and the viewer to stop him. The viewer would type in the code on the Kids WB website, which would give them the ability to unfreeze one of the characters, and the people who managed to unfreeze all of them would win one of 400 prizes, which included a Looney Tunes video game, a Looney Tunes DVD, and as the title says, an Xbox. It's unknown who won the contest nor how long it went on for.
Canadian law. I'm guessing this is about how Canada has this rule where cable channels need to air a certain amount of Canadian content in order to fulfill requirements. One of the main theories for Johnny Test lasting as long as it did was because of this, but it's not for certain if this was the case or not. The WB plus UPN merger, the CW. This refers to the merging of the two mentioned channels into the CW. This merger apparently caused budget cuts, which is the main reason for the show switching over to Flash animation. Awful sound design. Well, this one's pretty self-explanatory. Johnny Test is notorious for overfilling its scenes with countless wacky sound effects. There is no in-between when it comes to a whipcrack. It could be triggered by an actual whip, a car crash, or just a simple finger movement. Literally every little movement is accompanied by a sound effect, or music sample. It's something you don't really notice as a kid, but looking back, yeah, I can see why my dad hated this shit. Middle Eastern dubs. This refers to the interesting name changes that the show had set for the Arabic and Persian dubbed versions. Instead of Johnny Test, the two alternate titles for the show were given are Johnny and His Family of Geniuses and Experimental Johnny.
Chip and Dale cameo. In the 2022 Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie, in the background of one of the scenes, you can see what appears to be an older version of Johnny with a goatee in the back. This is one of the many Easter eggs and cameos in this movie. I also can't help but notice that this design kinda looks like the Fusion Fall design, albeit again with a goatee and no radioactive symbol. Failed 1995 Nickelodeon pitch. In the aforementioned lawsuit, it was revealed that the show was actually pitched to Nickelodeon back in 1995, but was seemingly rejected. Ironically enough, as stated before, the show actually did air on Nickelodeon in various countries. But yeah, Johnny Test, you can officially join the group of shows that Nick probably regrets rejecting, alongside with Adventure Time, Star vs. the Forces of Evil, and Phineas and Ferb.
Soulja Boy stole the show's art style. Soulja Boy, the famous rapper for his Amiri album cover, pretty blatantly uses a traced image of Johnny on it, not to mention the background was apparently stolen from Star vs. the Forces of Evil. What's crazy is that this isn't the first time he just blatantly ripped off something, as he also used other traced drawings of cartoons like Danny Phantom, Rocket Power, and even The Simpsons on his album covers. And of course, let's not forget about the Soldier game, which is just literally a Famicom with a bunch of bootleg games on it, and when he was called out on this, he threw a hissy fit and had a back and forth feud with critics and reviewers alike. Wow, what a dick. Anyway, this video isn't about toxic rapper drama, this is about Johnny Test, so let's move on, shall we?
Drinking game. As some of you may know, Twitch streamer YourBudTevin hosted a livestream in 2022, a drinking game in which he would consume some of alcohol's finest spiked lemonade for every Whipcrack sound effect that played. Long story short, he fucking died. Just kidding. He's alive, but this incident went so viral at the time that he even cracked a few big news articles. You know, I never really noticed the frequency of these Whipcracks as a kid, but this is one hell of a way to remind me.
I think that was the longest we've gone without taking a drink. What was that, 4 seconds? Holy shit.
Bootleg sticker sheet. Around 2019, there was this old sticker sheet that surfaced on Amazon featuring hate art, furry art, which was also stolen, Johnny as a Titus from Final Fantasy, Bling Bling Boy as Dio from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, foot fetish art, Black Johnny, a costume-changed Susan, CalArts Johnny, Lady Johnny, and Tyler from Super Noobs. As you can see, it's quite the selection. It's pretty obvious that they just nabbed whatever the first Johnny Test results were on Google Images. This was removed from Amazon a few years ago, so yeah. Sorry to anyone who, for some reason, might have wanted this.
Johnny X Buttercup. For some odd reason, there's a lot of people who really love to ship Johnny with Buttercup from the Powerpuff Girls. It kinda reminds me of how people ship Dexter with Blossom or Mordecai with Twilight Sparkle. I guess they do it because of her more tomboyish personality, but I don't know, something about this just feels off. Oh yeah, that's because Buttercup is canonically 5 years old while Johnny's 11. The internet is wild. Scrapped OG 7th season. In June 2013, Teletoon announced they renewed Johnny Test for a 7th season, containing 13 episodes and, interestingly, a 3-part special, which would be new for the series considering that it never had any specials like that before. However, most likely due to the lawsuit, it never ended up happening. But thankfully, we eventually did end up getting not only a 7th season, but an 8th season and even an interactive special thanks to Netflix. It's unknown if any of the original plans for this original Season 7 was worked into the final version of Season 7 or 8, but it's possible. It's also possible the 3-part special was reworked into the interactive special as well.
Unusually smooth animation in Season 2. This is an odd one, and yeah, for some reason this season, compared to the rest of the Flash animated seasons, has the most fluid and smooth looking movement of the bunch. Not sure why that's the case. Obviously some different technique was used here. Maybe they just spent a little more time with the frame by frames before realizing they couldn't be asked. I don't know, I'm not an expert, let me know in the comments.
Susan and Mary without glasses. There were a few instances where we saw the two without glasses, one being in My Johnny Guard, where we can see Susan without her glasses, and Johnny Cruise, where we can briefly see the sisters without glasses when they change into their swimsuit, where we can see that they don't have any outlines in their eyes. Ugh, freaky. And then there are other cases when their eyes look somewhat normal, as shown in Johnny's Got a Wart and Johnny on the Job. Geez, almost like the show couldn't make up their mind, didn't they?
Dennis and Nasher 2009 might have copied the show. This was a British-Australian animated series, which was actually a reboot of the 1996 British animated series, which was actually based on the 1950s British-Scottish Beano comic. The 09 cartoon was about a young troublemaker named Dennis, this time not the Menace, and his dog Nasher. They frequently cause trouble and mischief within their neighborhood. The previous adaptations are their own original concept. However, the Dennis and Nasher 09 cartoon seems to have taken quite a bit of inspiration from old Johnny Testicular here. Not only is it about a troublemaker and his equally mischievous canine, but the art style is quite similar as well. If that's not enough, here's where things get weird. They even switch to Flash animation for their second season onward, much like Johnny Test did. The first season using complete hand-drawn animation and then switching to Flash for their second, which is the exact scenario that played out with Johnny Test. This is basically a British bootleg with a different name. Shout out the 90s cartoon though, that one did its thing.
Jonathan Test. For some reason, Johnny Test used to be called Jonathan Test in Portugal when it first aired there, and Johnny was also renamed as such in the show.
La última vez, Jonathan.
And I have no idea why this is, but it's interesting to say the least. Starting with Season 7, however, they changed the name back to Johnny Test.
Os bandidos subterrâneos não...
Possible multiverses leak. If you don't remember this game, it's basically a Smash Bros. Styled cartoon fighting game, similar to Brawlhalla, featuring different characters from Warner Bros. Anyway, an article was put out by the Gamer91 talking about an update leak for the game. The bottom of the article stated, "We've previously seen Rick and Gandalf in some of the game's earliest leaks, but Ben 10 is unique to this particular image. The leaked image also shows obscured character slots with names over them that imply Scorpion, Mad Max, Sub-Zero, Johnny Test, and Fred Flintstone are being added to the game. Except it wasn't Johnny Test, it was his lesser counterpart, Johnny Bravo. He was actually the one in the leak.
Man, fuck!
Tom Kenny as Dookie.
What?
Yeah, motherfucker. Thomas Kenneth himself, the voice of Spingebill, has been behind the voice of Dookie in one commercial. The reason behind this extraordinary phenomenon was because Dookie's voice actor is from Canada. Shout out the GOAT. And since Warner Bros. Is located in the US, they weren't able to reach or contact him in time for the commercial. So they picked up one of their small actors off the side of the road, and it just so happened to be Tom Kenny, who did a Dookie impression for this one-off commercial. What a wild piece of lore, my friends. iPhone games. We're all familiar with the various mobile games based on our favorite cartoons and TV shows. From SpongeBob SquarePants to Rick and Morty. They've truly done it all, which is why Johnny Test is no exception. 3 releases to its name: Johnny Test Clone Zapper, Johnny Test Bot Drop, and 2 motion comics. The comics were removed for reasons unknown, however, so add those to the pile of lost media. Only some screenshots remain to honor their legacy.
Kaleidoscope blog. Kaleidoscope, the animation studio behind seasons 2 to 3, had an online blog where they documented some of the behind the scenes of their work on Johnny Test. They shared some pretty cool concept art and other goodies too. Sadly, in 2008, they announced they would no longer post any more blogs due to the company's closure.
Scott has a transgender cross-dressing fetish. Not to be confused with actual transgender, this fetish refers to someone being attracted to someone literally being transformed into the opposite gender, whether it be a gender bend or a separate character entirely. This is a very common thing on places like DeviantArt or just the internet. The title suggests that Scott, the show's creator, has a fetish for this type of thing, based on its constant inclusion within the Johnny Test series. Kinda like how Vince Gilligan, the creator of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, was accused of having a foot fetish for the inclusion of certain things in his work. Johnny isn't the only one to have this occur. Dookie, Gil, Mr. Black, and Mr. White have all had their own versions of this exact phenomenon. It's even present throughout Scott's other shows, such as Ned's Declassified, Big Time Rush, and Super Noobs. This does seem to be a pattern, and I'm not sure if it's coincidental. However, none of this has been present for the reboot series, so maybe he lost his desire for that kind of stuff, or just decided to keep it out of his content. Either way, character development. Mr. Mittens used to be human. Another theory suggesting that Mr. Mittens, everyone's favorite villainous cat, used to be a human. Unfortunately, for those who stand behind this theory, it has actually been deconfirmed, as we learn that Mr. Mittens was a genetically modified feline rather than a person turned cat.
Cancelled Cookie Jar Mallows toy line. Mallows are a series of collectible vinyl action figures made by Shocker Toys. They've done quite a lot of figures based on various pieces of media. They at one point acquired the rights to make Mallow figures of Johnny Test characters. Mock-up prototypes were shown at a toy fair at some point, showcasing concept art of figures for Johnny, Dookie, Johnny X, and Super Dookie, also known as Super Pooch sometimes. They look pretty neat from what I can see. Unfortunately, however, it seems like they were cancelled, as beyond these, they never ended up releasing actual figures for them, nor were there any more updates given. Oh well, at least we have the Imports Dragon line. Maybe Funko will pick up the license. Who knows? Last ever Cookie Jar show. Yeah, pretty much. Around Cookie Jar's final years, which were around 2010 to 2014, Johnny Test was seemingly the only show, or at least the only notable show, from them that was still in production. And once the show ended, the company merged into DHX Media, now WildBrain. Rest in peace, Cookie Jar.
3 Bulgarian dubs. Yeah, it's self-explanatory. There are in fact 3 Bulgarian dubs of Johnny Test. Cool. Studio B and Top Draw Animation Incorporated. These are the animation studios responsible for the animation for Season 1. Cool. Hate base and hate art. To keep it short, Johnny Test has a lot of haters, and I mean a lot. Since the show has been on TV, people have hated that rotten, flame-haired, annoying Whipcrack worse than slavery, Tony the Tiger-looking Dexter clone fucking unforsaken piece of Cartoon Network, because they don't even know what the fuck a Teletoon is, that show! Anyway, due to the show's overexposure and saturation during 2010 to 2013, a lot of people were fed up with seeing it. And hey, I mean, it's not for everyone. A lot of parents didn't like the overdone, wacky sound effects. Some even described the show as an ADHD breeding ground. Some people got so vocal about their hatred that they would make art pieces highlighting their disdain for the franchise, as well as some bad reviews. The art pieces would typically feature Johnny getting beat up by almost any character or person you can think of. Yep. Even Obama. Thankfully, nowadays, you don't see much hate for Johnny Test, mainly because it's not a relevant topic anymore. There's been a plethora of other shows since that have warranted a lot more hate, and it seems they've all migrated elsewhere. Matthew Davis Media. Matthew Davis was a very publicly vocal Johnny Test hater. He took time out of his day to create hate animations. Yo, real quick, I don't know about you guys, but if you ever find yourself making fan creations of shit you hate and labeling it hate art, you might want to find something better to do with your time. Hell, I would not want to spend time creating things for franchises that I don't like. I hate plenty of shows. Would never catch me making it my life's purpose. Matthew Davis also created hate art and hate videos. He even destroyed a Johnny Test DVD with a baseball bat just to vent his frustration. He had a couple other shows he hated as well, but Johnny Test was the primary. He eventually stopped uploading these types of videos by 2017, and they've all since been privated on the platform. I mean, hell, I'd be embarrassed if I made shit like this, and I've made some garbage over the years. Nowadays, he mostly follows an angry video game nerd style of reviewing content. Hey, at least it's 12 steps in the right direction. He should definitely bring back the bat destruction stuff though, I want to see more of that.
Bling Bling Boy's dad. Despite Bling Bling's mom being a recurring character, we never got to see Bling Bling's dad. It's unknown whatever happened to him. There is this piece of fan art on what Bling Bling's dad could have looked like. Some people also say that he either left, he's busy with work, or he's just straight up died. One theory even lies outside the Johnny Test community and within another. In the Captain Underpants fandom, people believe that Mr. Krupp, the mean elementary school principal, could be Bling Bling Boy's dad. Yeah, I am not making this up. However, there is no evidence from either community side to back up this claim. I guess we'll never know the mystery of Bling Bling Dad.
Tim Burnout. Tim Burnout was a recurring character during the first 2 seasons of Johnny Test. He attends the same class as Susan and Mary, bit of a lazy slob who's very easily attracted by the opposite gender. He's also pretty intelligent, however, judging by the fact he's the creator of Mr. Mittens. What? Mr. Mittens, the feline villain's origins date back to this fucker right here. He's the reason Mr. Mittens has the ability to speak in the first place. Tim's last name, Burnout, is a representation of his personality. After only a few appearances, he stopped being seen within the show. That is, until season 6, where he reprised his role in The Johnny Express. Also, a funny gag in this episode is that not a single person there remembers who this dude is, due to him being absent from the show for so long.
Cartoon Network UK Shorts. During 2015 and 2016, Cartoon Network aired several Johnny Test shorts in a few countries, including the UK. 71 shorts were made, 17 for the segment A Minute with Johnny, and 54 for Ask Johnny. Unfortunately, due to the limited broadcast, only 2 shorts are currently available online. One being about Johnny being grounded and his tips on how to get his games back, and another one that featured Mr. Mittens. As of the writing of this video, no progress has been made on the search. Psst! Hey! If you want to learn about the shorts, I recently released the long-awaited sequel to my Lost Media video on my channel. Go check it out!
Evil Johnny is a callback to the pilot. Evil Johnny first appeared in the Lost web series episode League of Johnnies, basically acting as an evil variant to Johnny Test. He's become a pretty big staple among the community, much like Johnny West. His shirt features a skull and bears a striking resemblance to the shirt Johnny wore in the pilot of the series. You know, it's a pretty cool callback, all things considered. The Lost web series is an ARG. Many people within the Johnny Test fandom believe this to be the case. An ARG is essentially an online scavenger hunt intentionally put together to remain hidden and ambiguous, allowing users to find clues and track different patterns set up by the creator. It features Lost in the name, and it's called the Lost web series for a reason. But could there be a reason behind it being taken down 3 days later like mentioned before? Especially when having such a large build-up. One could argue it was simply used as promotion for the Netflix reboot, but why hide all the videos afterwards? Just because? The reboot wasn't even announced until the day after all the videos were hidden. This wouldn't be the first time a company used an ARG to promote a show either. Warner Bros. Did a Batman-themed ARG to promote the iconic film The Dark Knight back in 2008. Adult Swim put out several Rick and Morty Subway ads and proceeded to hide them on multiple USB drives. So it's definitely not a stretch to say Wildbrain is trying something similar, even if to a much lesser extent. The only way to know for sure is to have some people dig up any remaining clues that may or may not still be out there, and that's a call to action to anyone willing to do so.
Leaked Flash files. A few Flash files were leaked online, the first of which being a simple test animation from Johnnyland where Johnny gets grabbed by Bumper, and the others being from various episodes of Season 4. So technically, if you have the time and effort, if you really wanted to, you could make your own episodes. Deleted Episode 1 scenes. During the transformation sequence in Episode 1, a few shots are removed for some reason. This was revealed in what appears to be a test trailer of sorts for Episode 1 that was released onto YouTube. It was an extra shot of Dookie and the twins looking at Johnny and a few extra frames of Johnny transforming. Also, the monster Johnny is in a different pose. Why this was changed? Who knows? There was also another deleted scene in the episode King Johnny.
Like that look on King Johnny's face.
It's not a smile, is it?
Black Knight, attack Red-Headed Dork and his goons!
Sonic and Johnny Fan 101. Look, they don't call me Capital No Effort Captain Man for nothing, and I googled Sonic and Johnny Fan 101. I found 2 things. The first being this link that supposedly featured some popular crossover fanfic between Sonic and Johnny Test. The other being this list of remixes that Prisma, who's featured on this very video, actually re-uploaded, which seemed to be originally made by Sonic and Johnny Fan 101. Here's what those sound like. So, I actually discovered while writing this that Prisma is Sonic and Johnny Fan 101. Which is crazy since that wasn't even an entry on their Iceberg image. This is one of the other 2 that just so happened to mention her old persona. Wow, small world.
Yeah, small world indeed. For context, Sonic and Johnny Fan 101 was my really old username when I first joined YouTube via the forced Google Plus integration. Yeah, remember that site? I certainly do. However, the less said about that site and the era, the better.
Prototype intro. Online, there exists an unfinished rough cut of the Season 1 intro. There are a few key differences. The monster truck in the middle of the intro isn't colored in, there's a different effect of Johnny teleporting into frame, the background behind him singing is also different and was probably changed due to it causing seizures. Flash test for Season 2. Before Kaleidoscope got the gig to animate Seasons 2 and 3, they made a test pitch by reanimating a scene from Johnny X. Interestingly, it's much better looking than the final animation we got. The reason why the final animation isn't as good is because either Warner Brothers or Cookie Jar gave them some pretty tight deadlines, so they had to cut a few corners to meet them. If only they were given a bit more time, man.
Mother 3 similarities. Mother 3 is a GBA Japanese exclusive game that serves as the third and final entry in the Mother/Earthbound series. People have pointed out many similarities between the characters of both Johnny Test and Mother 3. This sounds like a long shot, but I want you to strap in and pay attention here. Both titles feature a young blonde boy as the protagonist, a brown dog that can disguise himself with various baseball caps. Both feature a tomboy character closely connected to the protagonist, a character who is crippled in some type of fashion, Duster being physically crippled, and Gil being mentally crippled. And both even feature a fat, evil genius with mommy issues. Mother 3 also released only a year after Johnny Test first aired. This is likely a major coincidence, as both projects were in the works back in the 90s, and weren't released till after a decade due to development. Wait. Well, shit. I guess their in-production stories are also very similar. Not gonna lie, this is a very weird coincidence. I had no idea this was a thing before this Iceberg, but this is almost too similar. This is some weird Abraham Lincoln, John F. Kennedy shit going on right now. Roller Johnny app. As the entry title suggests, this was a Johnny Test mobile game, a racing game based on their Mario Kart episode. There were a mesmerizing 2 characters to choose from, and it even had an online multiplayer. Unfortunately, just like the previous 2 Johnny Mobiles, this was removed from the App Store. Johnny Test haters and government officials alike came together to bring this bad boy down. Their motivations were nothing short of a Whipcrack, and this app had officially disappeared. Mippy Trippy. Similar to the infamous before-mentioned Matthew Davis of Johnny Testophobia, Mippy was yet another vocal Johnny Test hater. He made countless art pieces dedicated to hating the show on DeviantArt. He also ran a YouTube channel, also filled with various Johnny Test hatred. Damn, these people love making things they don't like the majority of their personality. Did I mention that somebody made a Friday Night Funkin' mod out of one of his hate pieces? No, because why the fuck would I mention that? That's a thing? You bet your sweet bippy it is! Did I play it? You bet your fruity roo I did. No, I didn't. He seems to have left the internet, as there's been no trace of him for a couple years now. Wonder how he's doing. Johnny Meets Johnny. This is either referring to the Johnny Johnny bumpers on Cartoon Network, or the Lil Johnny episode where the entry title here actually ends up happening. Alternate timelines. There are several timelines and universes seen within the show, such as the one seen in Lil Johnny, Johnny Alternative, and the League of Johnnies. So yeah, even Johnny Test has a multiverse. Johnny X. This was a prototype name for the series before they landed on Johnny Test. It also refers to Johnny's superhero alter ego, cause as we know, every name is immediately cooler if you just chuck the letter X at the end. Phineas and Ferb similarities. Another show with quite a few similarities to old Johnny of Thou Test, you say? People like to say Johnny Test is a gender-flipped Dexter's Laboratory, but what if I told you, shut the fuck up? What if I told you, Phineas and Ferb was just a gender-flipped Johnny Test? You've got 2 pairs of genius child inventors, Phineas and Ferb, and Susan and Mary, a pair of males, and a pair of females, as well as the 3rd child who constantly gets in their siblings' way, Johnny and Candace. Johnny being the younger sibling, and Candace being the older. Male, female. Candace trying to get her brothers busted and foil their plans, while Johnny uses his sister's inventions for himself and own personal gains. And then you've got the pets, both with human-like intelligence. Dookie and Perry the Platypus. Oh, we're cooking, believe me. You've got the handsome blonde guy who the sister or sisters fall for, Gil, or Jeremy, a super intelligent rival to the main characters who's also a loser nerd and almost never successful despite all that brainpower, Doofenshmirtz and Bling Bling Boy. The list goes on. This is crazy. Janet and Isabel. Bumper and Buford. What's even weirder is that both shows were pitched to Nick and turned down, as mentioned earlier. Maybe while Scott was working on his show, he might have crossed paths with Dan and Swampy, and the pair may have exchanged similar ideas. Who knows?
The Living Blue Jay. The Living Blue Jay is a Canadian YouTuber who makes top 10 styled videos and theory videos about cartoons and video game series, mostly consisting of Johnny Test and Five Nights at Freddy's. He was one of the more beloved Johnny Test fans, and one of the more well-known ones as well. However, in recent times, he's gotten into some heat for drawing questionable art of certain characters, most notably minors among other things. I recommend you check out Prisma's video on him to get a better idea on what he did.
Intermission time! Recently, TLB did respond not only in form of an essay in the comment section of my video, but also made a response in form of an hour-long video.
What? It's just an ordinary Krabby. Oh my goodness!
Yeah, since I doubt many people would have time to watch it in full, here's the TLDR version of his response. Basically, he had a shitty life and such. Nice try, Eric, but you were way too late to the party. And also, that still doesn't excuse from those actions, Bubby. Oh, and sorry, mate, not even rebranding on your socials would save you. However, he's not the only creep in the Johnny Test community. Anyway, that's the end of the intermission. Sorry for the harsh words. Now we're switching back to our regularly scheduled program. Whoa, hold the phone past Prisma. I have another recent update. That user named Isabel actually changed her ways. Yeah, after I posted my call-out video on her and lots of time had passed, she actually made significant changes to better herself, like distancing herself from... that fucking creep, as well as its community the character is themed to. I'm not gonna speak its name without pulling a Daiji. She also rebranded herself completely, blocked several people who are basically instigators of that issue, and overall doing her absolute best to repair her friendships with me and my friends. Despite the fact that I still haven't forgotten about her actions though. Yeah, I was quite harsh on my call-out video, but that's because of how hurt I was. Do not try to cancel her, it just makes things worse. In the words of Kratos. So yeah, that's the last update I can give it to you. As for Eric, I highly doubt he would change given his damaged reputation. Anyways, back to the iceberg.
Brain Freezer is lonely. In Johnnysicle, great name I know, Brain Freezer reveals that one of the reasons behind his evil ways is simply the fact that he's lonely and can't find love. Behind every horrific action and wrongdoing was a coping mechanism for the girlfriend he never had. Damn. Bling Bling Boy, don't take notes. Please. Actually kinda sad. Wait, what the fuck? No it isn't! This motherfucker is a 15-year-old or 16-year-old according to the wiki. What the fuck are you doing? Who the fuck jumps to becoming a supervillain because they're lonely at 15? This isn't gonna help your case, Ice Spice. You're about to be 40 in the same position if you keep this shit up. Nobody's trying to get with you looking like a Temu Jack Frost. Brain Freezer brought out the fashion handbook signed by the abominable snowman. Man, forget this loser. Go check yourself back into school before the truancy officer melts your bitch ass. I'm glad you like being in a constant state of hypothermia. Hell, even your grades probably managed to be below 0. Man, fuck out of my face, you fucking oh, fucking big fucking Johnny Test YouTube channel. The official Johnny Test YouTube channel is made up of almost every episode, clips, and is basically the home of any official test content on the internet. Miss X and Z. These were a pair of recurring characters from the show's first season. Both characters were robots created by Bling Bling Boy, and were used as replacements to Susan and Mary Tess. Much like Janet, these characters disappeared after season 2, likely due to Eugene giving up on them or moving on to other contraptions and machines. Honestly wish we would have gotten more content with them, as we're never really given much info. More so feels like a scrapped idea, if anything. Would have liked to see them delve further into this. Smarty Pants is not dead. Here we have the almighty cliffhanger from the ending of the second Super Smarty Pants episode, which shows that Smarty Pants is in fact still kicking, and actually adds more weight to that theory from earlier that he returned in the chess episode, as that ended up airing much later. Free Realms Dookie promotion. Dookie was actually one of the promotional pets available in the online multiplayer game Free Realms back in 2011. Free Realms was a massive role-playing game developed by Sony Online Entertainment for Microsoft Windows, Mac, and PlayStation 3. It was first released in 2009, and its servers have been shut down since 2014. This Dookie model looks pretty neat in all fairness, although I never would have gotten to try him out as he was only made available in the US. Johnny switched bodies once with Susan, and once with his dad. Yeah, he did. Papa Johnny and Johnny Susan, Susan Johnny. Weird. Mr. Black didn't lose his memory of spying on the Test Kids. Likely referring to the episode Johnny Test in Black and White.
The show's staff is actually aware of the memes and reception. I'm pretty sure this has to be the case. The lo-fi bling bling video, this old dangly hangy thing right here, even stuff like Dog and Bone, it's clear that the showrunners are definitely self-aware and familiar with the show's reception. There was even an entire commercial dedicated to the Whipcrack sound effect, hosted by Johnny's voice actor himself. There's also a scene from The Silence of the Johnny where the librarian is tired of hearing the godforsaken whips. It's really cool when the people behind cartoons can acknowledge and reference things from their fanbase within the show.
Second intro on Season 1. Refers to how Netflix and some other places actually have Season 1 combined with the Season 1 through 4 title screen instead of the proper one the season came with. My only guess is maybe they didn't have the rights to carry it over to Netflix or something, and maybe they wanted the intros to look more consistent rather than changing it immediately after the first season. Teletoon doesn't have the rights to the original theme. Okay, I just fucking said that. This is a popular theory behind the phenomenon I just mentioned. Although, they did air Season 1 on cable with the original theme on almost every occasion, even long after they would have supposedly lost the rights, so I'm not sure if this is accurate. Alright, new layer. I think it's time we kick things off right. Johnny Testicles porn comics. I don't care. I'm not looking it up. I'm not going to look this up. I don't care. I'm good. No. No. 2015 Japanese dub. Yeah, there was a Japanese dub released for the series in 2015. Literally 10 years after the show premiered. God, imagine waiting for this dub during Attack on Titan. It is pretty funny though. Just the idea of someone patiently waiting for a Japanese dub for Johnny Test. I need to know if anyone out there jumped on this as soon as it released.
Johnny's voiced by a girl in the Persian dub. Like the title implies, Johnny's voiced by a girl in the Persian dub. Also, am I the only one who thinks the person voicing him kind of sounds like Shin-chan a little bit? It's unknown who the actual actress is. This is the only other dub where Johnny's voiced by a female. Similarly, in the Hindi dub of the series, Johnny's also voiced by a girl. Anyways, not much else to say here, I just found it interesting. Original Extreme Teen concept art. Posted on the aforementioned Kaleidoscope blog, this original piece of concept art of the Extreme Teen Team shows off some never-before-seen designs of them. While the middle one remained pretty much the same, the other two are much more taller and older looking. It seems like they were initially wanting to go with an Ed, Edd n Eddy type thing with the whole big guy, medium guy, little guy, but I guess someone decided that it wasn't doing it for them and redesigned the other two to be more like the middle one.
Cancelled movie.
No! Fuck! Oh, God damn it! Fuck! Why? Why?
There was supposedly a Johnny Test movie in production shortly before the time of the OG show's cancellation. According to various websites, there was a TV movie reportedly in development, but it was likely scrapped for the same reason the planned 7th season was canned. This would have been so fucking good. Like, this actually pisses me off. Video aside, if this would have dropped when I was younger, this would have been my favorite movie. Like, I can already tell it. That would have been my favorite movie. Would have watched that shit front to back every night. Damn tragedy.
2 of the animators' DeviantArt accounts. 2 of the animators of the show have DeviantArt accounts, the first being East Coast Canuck, who works on seasons 2 and 3 at Kaleidoscope in Canada. You might know him from most of these pieces of art. He makes some pretty cool stuff and also some interesting stuff. And the other one being Cave 11, who worked on seasons 4 to 6 at Atomic Cartoons in the Philippines. He's also the one who leaked the flash files on DeviantArt to showcase his work. It's always pretty cool to see staff having an online presence, and double points to being able to freely show us behind the scenes stuff.
Johnny is in a coma theory. As you can probably imagine, this theory suggests that Johnny was just a normal imaginative kid, but after a terrible accident, he fell into a coma, with every episode taking place inside his own head, deep into his consciousness. Dookie would just be a normal everyday mutt in the real world. His sisters would be smart, but not to the level where they're inventing these billion-dollar products on a whim. The villains being a figment of his imagination, or his bullies, etc. This theory definitely isn't canon, as Scott's confirmed that most of the events are just heavily exaggerated events of his own childhood. But it's definitely a cool concept and a much deeper way of looking at the series. I know this theory applies to a lot of shows, especially cartoons, and you can definitely see why it's interesting. I'd love to see one of these shows actually apply that concept as canon. There might be one out there, but I really want to see that. Just a cartoon where the protagonist is actually in a coma. That would be a great concept. And I know, like, you could be, oh, it's a bit dark because it's a kid show. I want there to be a child-friendly cartoon where every episode is just taking place inside someone's coma. There's definitely a way to do it without making it overtly dark. Maybe there's a show that's already done this, but I think it's a pretty interesting concept.
Fake Lost Web series title cards. There were a series of fake title cards posted on both 4chan and Twitter claiming to be leaks for the Lost Web series. The first one being Double Johnny, which judging by the image seems like it would have carried on the storyline from League of Johnnies, and there was also Johnny X vs the President, which seemed to set up Johnny Test going up against US President Donald Trump. Holy moly. However, these were later proven to be fake and fan-made. The first one was understandably a lot more believable, but once they started involving real-life political figures, that's probably what led to people disproving these. Whoever made these did a fantastic job at recreating the art style of the title cards though. Fair play.
Susan and Mary as adults. In the episode Dial J for Johnny, we actually get to see Susan and Mary as adults. This is the only time in the actual series, as the comic is unsure to be canon, where we actually see any of the non-adult characters as adults.
Major characters as background characters. As you could probably imagine, this refers to various known characters appearing in the background as an Easter egg or cameo, or just to fill the empty void. Many cartoons are known for doing this, like Family Guy or Simpsons. It's just a cool way to showcase that the characters aren't completely dormant when they're not the focus of the episode. Two notable examples are the Extreme Teen Team and Janet Nelson Jr., who initially had bigger roles prior to becoming background characters. Gil is gay. Now, this one is 100% factual. I don't give a fuck. This is real. Nah, it's a theory. But I fucking believe it. Notice how Gil never shows any interest in Johnny's sisters? Sure, maybe he doesn't like them like that. Completely valid. But this motherfucker doesn't seem to like any girls. He's always seen rizzing up dudes. Even Johnny, who's like 4 years younger than him, which... that's a whole different topic, but let's focus on this theory. This motherfucker right here is gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but he is. He's gay. Gil is gay, just like Gilgrunt. To be fair, he is rarely seen interacting with girls sometimes, but it's definitely not to the same velocity that he looks at guys with. It's usually girls showing loads of interest in him, and him not being nearly as interested back. There's definitely some weight to this theory. He's friends with girls most of the time, which, not trying to stereotype or anything, is typically a trait in gay people. Wait, what the fuck am I doing? No, seriously, I just clocked what the fuck I'm doing right now. I'm in what's left of college, breaking down whether Gil from Johnny Test is gay or not. Who gives a fuck? Like, no, actually, what am I doing right now? I am 20 years old, trying to break down a fictional childhood cartoon character's sexuality, as if I'm having some fucking scientific breakthrough. If you told me a couple years back that this is where my life would end up, I'd tell you, yeah, you're probably right.
We should get a candle at dinner sometime.
Kevin Manty's soundtrack. Season 1 soundtrack was done by Kevin Manty, and I must say, he had some solid tunes going on. If you're a Johnny Test head, a lot of this stuff is pretty memorable. Shout out Kevin. Wacko's brother. Wacko does in fact have a brother, the one commonly known as the Tickler. He is very jealous of Wacko, citing him as the family's favorite. He has red hair instead of blue, and wait. He's a ginger? He also has the ability to create any weapon that can make people laugh. His most iconic being the tickle belt. It's a shame he's always mistaken for his brother. First Cartoon Network show to parody Minecraft. Almost the first cartoon too. Yeah. You know, I thought Johnny was about to get a major accolade here, being that this show was ahead of its time when it came to parodies on anything, really. Games, devices, the political and economic state of the world, you name it. A lot of people didn't even know this Minecraft episode aired due to Christina Miller dumping the final 4 episodes of the series on Christmas fucking Day. It was actually the second show to parody Minecraft. Mad parodied it 3 years prior. Man, that's early, back in 2011, while Johnny didn't get its hands on it till 2014.
One of Johnny's ancestors is a dog. In the episode Who's Johnny, when they're trying to revert Johnny back to normal but end up giving him genes from his ancestors, one of them turns him into a dog, which means that one of his ancestors is a dog, which would mean some pretty questionable shit must have happened in the Test family tree.
Cyber 8 fan animation. Cyber 8 refers to a Polish web animator who's known for making some questionable animations based on a variety of cartoons such as Peppa Pig, Scooby-Doo, and as one may assume, Johnny Test. The big 3 right there, let me tell you. As well as some other messed up creative decision making. One of his Johnny Test creations actually got taken down off YouTube, but it's currently available and can be found on certain websites like Newgrounds and others that you can probably imagine. You see, I wanted no part of knowing what this video contained, but just to give you a rough idea, this is essentially what goes down. Cartoon Network Latin America used a picture from the pilot. Now we've got some really lesser known material to work with. This is very true indeed. Cartoon Network Latin America used an image from the pilot of Johnny Test. This was for an event called Volatoon, when Johnny himself was paired against Grim. They decided to use this picture from the pilot. Bit of an odd choice, but maybe they were just grabbing the first image of Johnny they could get by skimming through the very first episode. They saw the first frame they liked and immediately called it a day upon capturing the screenshot. Regardless, this is a pretty interesting factoid, and I'm interested to see what's left the lower we explore. Johnny X Gill comic. Alright, here we go. Wait! I am pleasantly surprised to tell you that despite the extremely dangerous entry title, this actually isn't porn. This simply refers to a fan comic featuring Johnny and Gill discussing love as a concept. Then Gill gives Johnny the idea to steal the body flakes from earlier and transform into Gill's girlfriend. I mean, at least it's not explicit, but I don't know, man. The concept and idea behind this in general makes me really uncomfortable.
Hella Gangbusters. This guy's a YouTube user who's known for his pretty funny Johnny Test animation parody. It's honestly really good and you should give it a watch. If you're a fan of Meat Canyon or Pilot Red Sun, you'll enjoy this little animation. It is great. 10 out of 10.
A fursona that was inspired by Dookie. How and why? I need to know. Like, what part of you decided after watching Johnny Test that you were inspired to further your furry endeavors in honor of Dookie? Fur Affinity has made the statement that their fursona, creatively named Dookie, wow, I really nailed that one, was based on Dookie. Once that Dookie and me started barking, I knew what my column was. I guess we can all be inspired in different ways, and Dookie just happened to light a fire under somebody's ass that they needed to be a furry. Woo. Martin Mystery. Martin Mystery is a French-Canadian animated series based on the Italian book of the same name. Well, similar name, Martin Mister. The show is known for its main character, Martin, bearing a striking resemblance to Johnny Test, and has been countlessly memed as a result. You might be able to tell by the animation style that this was actually made by the same team behind Like Totally Spies. And the two shows actually end up crossing over in canon. Now that is fire, right? We love a good crossover. Jimmy Neutron and Fairly Odd Parents, iCarly and Victorious, Dexter and Teletubbies, like bro, shit like this just slaps.
Scrapped episode. Now, apparently according to Prisma, who we mentioned earlier and who's also doing some voices for this video, in our Johnny Test Lost Media video, which you should totally check out by the way, it's really good, one of the writers said on 4chan that they were planning on making an episode revolving around Mary and the Brain Freezer. Mary would have been mocked by Johnny for being the nicer sister, which would lead her to run away and be more threatening. She comes across Brain Freezer and the two hit it off and she becomes her sidekick. The two try to do crime, but Mary is hesitant and eventually goes back and Johnny apologizes. I never knew this was a thing before watching her video, and I can't validate it for sure, but this episode sure does sound interesting. However, apparently it would set up a will they won't they kind of romantic relationship between the two, which I can't really see happening, especially with the whole Gill thing that Mary has. A rough draft of the first half of the episode was written apparently, but has never resurfaced. Johnny's Asshole Test. Interesting title aside, this is actually a creepypasta about a dude finding an episode of Johnny Test that was supposed to be the final episode of season 1 that involves Johnny failing a test, and because of that, Johnny basically loses his shit and goes around killing everyone, as one does. Then later on, Johnny cries while a picture of a dead alligator shows up, presumably referencing the one from Johnny's Royal Flush, even though that episode was a season 4 episode and not a season 1 episode, but whatever. And then after that, he ends up killing himself. Dookie then comes, sees his body, and then cries. And then after that, it shows a picture of Dookie dead as well, and then the credits roll with the phrase, "You're dead" at the end. Afterwards, the protagonist emails Scott Fellows about it. Scott basically says, "I didn't make anything like that, you should get rid of it." So he does, and then he, and I quote, decides to go watch some hentai videos from the 80s and 90s to get the episode off his mind. Yeah. Other than the ending, it's basically another run-of-the-mill cliche creepypasta. Next.
Johnny's left foot was made as foot fetish fuel. Oh no. Well, everyone, put your toes together because we've got another self-explanatory entry to trample. Or do we? This was a theory initially coined by National Mirahese Reception Wiki. Yep, that. Just to give you a look at the scene itself.
Okay, this is the weirdest foot massage ever!
You can kinda see why the J.R.R. Tolkiens of the world would grow attached to this. The episode in general seems way more like a fanfic theme than an official episode. The second episode paired with it isn't really any better, and gives off a similar feel to the initial one. Yeah, I don't know, inserting weird material into shows definitely isn't something new by any means. I'm sure there's loads of instances of people shoving their fetishes into cartoons and airing it on TV. It happens. A lot, like it really does. More than it should, I'll tell you that much. But yeah, this is no exception.
No exceptions!
Wacko is a child abuser. This guy's actions are often brushed off by the fact that he's portrayed in a cartoonish fashion, but when you look at his wrongdoings from a real-life surface value point of view, yeah, he's just evil. Wacko is a maniacal man who wishes to rid the world of children by using various tech disguised as toys or candy to lure them in. He's basically a more brutal version of Chris McLean with younger victims. He sets up dangerous situations for children that lead them to being hospitalized or even killed. There was even an episode with him putting Johnny and all the other kids of Pork Belly in prison. Definitely a deep-rooted hatred there. He has no problem if anyone dies as a result of his actions, especially young kids. So yeah, child abuser is definitely an understatement. He's gone far past that line, but we'll cover more on that later.
Problem Solvers bumper. The Problem Solvers was a cartoon created by Ben Jones for Cartoon Network that involves these three dudes named Alfie, Roba, and Horace, going around solving problems in their city. It was infamous for having a very unique art and animation style that featured very bright and colorful colors that could potentially cause seizures according to people, though no reports of this actually happening have come out. To promote the show, Cartoon Network made some bumpers in the style of the show for the few shows airing up to its premiere on their Monday nights block. These include The Problem Solvers, of course, Adventure Time, Mad, Regular Show, and of course, Johnny Test. Out of these bumpers, only the Regular Show and Problem Solvers bumpers have been found, unfortunately. So yeah, Johnny Test and the Problem Solvers technically have a crossover together. I find this really funny considering that back in the day, both these shows were heavily trashed by various cartoon YouTubers. Maybe one day, the Johnny Test bumper will reappear.
The death of Johnny Test. Another creepypasta. This is apparently about a short film that was aired on Cartoon Network by a hijacker during Shrek of all things. It starts with Johnny beating up Dookie for some reason, and then some random person shows up and says, "What the fuck?" Then a bully, probably Bumper, comes up and kills Johnny. There was reportedly lots of blood and swearing as usual, and the text saying, "You're next," shows up, and then this title card appears, even though those are supposed to show up before the episode, but whatever. The credit written by Charles Cruz appears, and then I guess it ends after that, cause that's the whole story. Not as bad as the other one before, but still very cliche. It's clear that those were made during the 2010s where badly written cliche creepypastas were really popular. But that's enough of the side tangent. Let's just finish the iceberg with the final tier.
Ask Dookie on Tumblr. We've now reached very foreign territory, to me at least. A lot of this is heavily forgotten material. Ask Dookie was a fan-made blog on Tumblr where someone would respond to various questions whilst in character as Dookie. Their most notable headcanon portrayed in the blogs was Dookie being gay, something they seemed to be truly convinced of. The user has not been active since 2017 when all posts seem to have come to a halt, so it doesn't look like they'll be responding to anybody else's questions anytime soon.
A piece of Johnny Test hate art featured someone's IRL Willy. I do not have access to this original image, and my fellow collaborator can no longer find it. Thank God. And yeah, this was in fact the level of hatred that Johnny Test brought out of people. I can't say any media has ever had me whipping my cock out in rage, but I guess that'll do it to you. This person was rightfully called out for what they were doing, via a post responding to them. The hate art in question happened to feature, let's keep this PG, someone cutting off a certain male organ from Johnny's body. Castration, penectomy, emasculation of hatred. I don't know the full details on this, and respectfully, I don't want to. So if anyone has more information on this for some reason, feel free to enlighten us in the comments below. Wacko kills children for fun. Truly a menace amongst the Johnny Test kingdom. Wacko is as evil as they come, wanting to rid the world of children by any means necessary, even if it requires murder. Something he's not opposed to taking pleasure in. Wacko's name is truly a fitting one. He's downright menacing and cruel. If you see this man at your local pork belly gas station, be sure to alert authorities immediately.
Epstein's Island and Pizzagate prediction. Basically, a little while ago, somebody on Twitter made a tweet saying that the show was trying to expose the secrets to children. Obviously, this isn't the case. The clip they provided is from an episode that had absolutely nothing to do with Epstein's Island nor Pizzagate. Like the note said, Dookie just wanted to order some pizza, dude. Let my man eat his pizza. And also, don't believe bogus theories online, people.
Rest in peace, Johnny Test. 1977 to 1983. If you're still watching this far in, I'd like to congratulate you for making it to the final entry, the most bizarre and obscure one on the list. This refers to a mysterious and unsettling YouTube video by the user Bye or Radok. The footage appears to be some VHS recording of a child's memorial for a funeral, the kid's name being Johnny Test, unrelated to the show obviously. It starts off with a black screen, before fading into a blue screen. Jazz music begins to play at this point, and we're presented with the text, Johnny Test, born 1977, and died 1983, appearing above and below the child's photo. After the shot begins to fade, it's replaced with a different photo of the same kid, along with the words, RIP Johnny Test, appearing underneath. The video then takes a weird turn, where the audio seems to switch or get jumbled with the voice of a woman, talking about hormones in the female reproductive cycle. Sounds to be some type of ad or commercial for a product. Then a picture happens to pop up of none other than Saddam Hussein. This video doesn't stop feeling weird or unsettling, as the text that appears reads, "We miss you, Johnny," before abruptly ending. I have many questions. Where was this hormonal audio from and why was it used? Who the fuck invited Saddam Hussein to this funeral? And is this kid actually a real child that passed? Well, we've got a couple answers, so strap in. It's possible that the hormonal audio could be a reference to the too much female growth hormone scene mentioned earlier. The kid, however, who appears in the video is actually named Ethan Patz, who was born on October 9th, 1972, and actually went missing in '79. He was only 6 years old at the time of his disappearance, and was last seen walking towards his school bus before going missing. The disappearance of Eaton actually led to the launching of the Missing Children movement, and Patz was one of the first children to ever be profiled on the photo on a milk carton campaigns. For several years, and I mean several years, it was unknown what happened to Eaton. That was until 2017, where the public finally learned what had happened. A man came forward named Pedro Hernandez, who confessed to both abducting and killing him all those years ago. He was then sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. Wow, I did not expect this video to take us here. I'm truly shocked. This weirdly edited shitpost of an upload ended up connecting to one of the darkest real-life stories, and the only thing tying it back to Johnny Test was the title and text used. I don't think we can get any lower than that. So I believe this is where the Iceberg entries conclude. Just as a side note, believe me, this has to be mentioned. Almost all of Radoc's posts, and I mean what seems to be damn near every single one of them, were all uploaded on the same day. I don't know if he just had these pre-made beforehand, or if he spent an entire day crafting these from the ground up. Either way, it's a really weird detail that we thought needed mentioning. Well, unfortunately, everybody, that is a wrap. We laughed, we cried, we colonized a group of Asian people. We had a great time, truly, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks again for including me in this. I love Johnny Test, and I haven't done an Iceberg video in so long, so it's really nice to be able to do so again. And it's nice to work alongside another fellow Iceberg creator. That initial Mario 64 DS Iceberg that I helped do a narration for, that was pretty fucking cool. And so is this. Anyway, trip down memory lane finished.
Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, Looney Lueza, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Once again, I'd like to thank Looney for the opportunity to be in part of this video.
I'd like to give a big thank you to both Looney and Prisma. Without them, this video likely never would have come into fruition, and yeah. What about you, Sunflower? Yeah. Got anything you want to say?
I'm out this bitch!
I'm in